Keb Darge.
All right, everyone. Welcome to All That Jam, where music has no limits. We are here today with Keb Darge. I am super excited about this. Keb, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us. Can you let everyone know where you're joining us from today?
In my living room in London, drinking gin and tonic. It's very nice.
You're a little bit ahead of us here in the States, so I appreciate the fact that you can enjoy that, and we'll have a great chat today. I reached out to you as just somebody who has been following your work for many, many years, for decades. I know that you have some new projects out, and we want to get to those. But first, for someone like you that has done so many different things within the music community, I would love for you to kind of share with us in your own thoughts what you do as it relates to music. How would you describe your role in the music industry?
I just really, okay, I'll tell you what I do. And think, Christ, what are they playing this rubbish for? Why aren't they playing these records that I've just found? So I would find a new record that I didn't know, put it on and go, oh yeah, I could listen to that. That's great. I wonder if other people will get that feel club and play this. And all I've ever done is go and find records that I didn't know before, obscure labels, and go, oh, that's good. Oh, I'm going to play that. And so I've unearthed a lot of records that nobody knew before. We're quite a good detective when it comes to
Okay, that's what we call dead air.
I have a little technical difficulties there. I don't.
That's all right.
Should I do that again?
Yeah, you froze up there on us. I think that, like we said, under the sea, we're a long way for the signal to travel.
All right then.
No, you were saying finding records that no one had ever that people didn't know about, and you were hoping that you could bring them to a larger audience. I guess is where you were going.
Yeah, it wasn't so much my thought when I was going to realized that people don't know these records. It's me and my collector mates that know them. So I play this, and then eventually one DJ in Aberdeen says, Keb, in your fair country, and I hear it and go, oh, listen to that, bloody hell. I get pleasure out of seeing other people getting that same feeling when I play it in the club, them hearing it. And that pretty well is all I've done. And then I've put them on compilations and and making them go, ooh.
Love it. Thank you. So I guess I'd be curious then. You said that's all I've done, but really when you think about it, there's an entire genre of music out there that I've loved for a very long time, that deep funk, which stories about how that was coined. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of where that grew up from and what you think deep funk is, what that means to you?
I'll tell you exactly how it grew up. I was a Northern Soul DJ, and I was the #1 Northern Soul DJ. And then in 1987, I had divorced #1. I had to sell all my Northern Soul records. I was like, oh, shite, I've got to stop DJing. I then had loads of stuff in the loft that wasn't Northern. I used to go to America, and I'd buy records, anything that looked good, and ship it back to Britain, and then sift through to find the Northern. In amongst there was a lot of records that I thought was just junk. It's not Northern, it's rubbish. Then in Britain, in about 85, 86, the rare groove scene started off, which was people playing James Brown, Eddie Bow, so easy to get stuff. And I tried to supply them with records. Right, I'll do it myself. I've got loads of rare funk up here. Hip hop was just arriving, and I thought, right, well, I've got all the roots of hip hop up in my loft. I'm going to go into clubs and say, here you go, boys, this is the roots of it all. You've not heard this before. And it worked. It went boom. It was like, by Christ, within a the divorce to hit when hip hop was arriving. When hip hop was arriving, and here's me playing all these records, and all the big hip hop producers coming to my house. Please, can we sample this, please? I help yourself, boys. Would you like a whiskey? There you go. So yeah, it just worked out nicely for me. And
why did you walk? Well, why did you go away from the Northern Soul? Was it things like Soft Cell, like turning it into popular music all of a sudden?
No, I didn't mind that. No, I still loved. There was still a real underground Northern scene. So the Northern scene split into the Wally scene, full of idiots that thought they were into Northern, and then there was the underground scene, which was the real boys. No, the reason I left is because I got divorced and had to sell all my Northern records. You know, so they are the DJs on the scene.
All right, very good. All right, so let's talk about when you go through and you discover I saw like like Eddie Bow you mentioned, and I guess the meters. Do you consider do you look at it as like a New Orleans kind of thing for the rare funk, or is it just?
I wouldn't consider Eddie Bow or the Meters rare funk. That's like any American cutout shop funk. No, the records where there's 2 or 3 known copies in the world. This is deep. We're digging deep into the funk. Eddie Bow's scratching the surface. I'm going to go right down and get you the I haven't found yet. That sounded quite good. I sounded clever then, didn't I? Yeah.
Here's for me.
And that was it. And the name came about because I was sitting thinking with a couple of mates who were going to put the night on with me, and they were coming up. Let's call it the Fantastic Exploding Bubble Machine. I thought, nobody's going to know what the fuck that is. Let's give it a simple name that they understand. It's funk. It's deep. We'll call it deep funk. And that's what we did.
I love it. Well, and honestly, I think over time, the understanding of what that is has grown. But here's what I'm curious about. You have been music and producing for years throughout these changes in popular culture. Do you feel like what people want to hear, what gets people moving is the same today as it was in the 80s and 90s, or have people's tastes changed in terms of what really gets them dancing and gets them excited?
So I can speak only for the clubs I play at. So funk was cool and hip and trendy 20 years ago, but it got saturated. There's 6 million deep funk DJs now. It hasn't been hammered to death, So I did rockabilly and it was fresh when I was doing it, but now it's hammered to death. So yeah, I like to play something that's obscure. So I'm doing garage, 60s garage just now. I guarantee virtually everyone in my club, probably bar one, has never heard any of the records that I played on Friday night. But they dance to them. I thought, oh, this is exciting. This is fresh. This is raw. So they want energy. They want rawness. And something in Northern Soul to be a revival scene. I'm a revival scene, the remembering 20 years ago type thing. I don't mean the music.
Right. That makes sense. Well, let's talk about that project. You had referenced it just a minute ago, the Best of Ace 60s Garage Punk, which came after your Rockabilly compilation. But let's talk about this Garage Punk compilation. How did that come about, and what do you find really engaging about that very specific time period?
Well, I'm just so excited by it. I've just started collecting it 10 years ago, and I've realised there's thousands of great records out there. The pain in the arse the collectors have got there before me now. I'm late on this one, so I have to pay money for them. But it's going to last me till I'm dead, probably, to get all the garage tunes I want, Ken. I also want the ones that I don't know yet. That always excites me. But, yeah, the garage thing at Ace happened simply because I was pestering it. Not sure. They're all in their 100-year-old or whatever, if garage trendy or not, and I'll make it trendy. Well, we're not. So, fair enough. Compilation of stuff that hasn't been out at all before, type thing, obscure stuff where they're going to have to license it in fresh.
How does it work when you collaborate with people? You collaborated with the guy from the Jam, I believe, on one of your things. And how does that work? Do you guys just say, "Hey, what about this song?" You're just throwing ideas off each other? Is that the basis of it?
Sort of. Aye, like Paul and me have been buddies for a long time, and I just said, "Come on, Paul, do a compilation where it'll help boost the club, and you can come and play some." I was playing at that time in my club nights. So most of our compilations are, this is the kind of stuff Keb's playing. If you book him to DJ, that's where you a load of his favourites. It's pretty damn easy if you know your records back to front.
Right, sure, of course.
Throw together 100 garage compilations just now, but licensing them is the problem. That's the thing. So for Ace Records, me saying, right, I've got all these records here, license all of them. By the end of 6 months, they'll come back and say, well, we've got 12 of them, Keb. We can't find anyone else. They're all dead and all that. So that's it. So doing a compilation.
Well, if you can't find the person to license from, does it become public property, community property?
Yeah, there's great music being denied the world. You know, there's a lot of stuff. If they are tuned today, they'd be thrilled. They wouldn't worry about lawsuits and crap like that, because they were all like garage bands living in a caravan, drinking whiskey, and you know, they'd be like, Christ, kids are dancing today tomorrow. I sent a video to a member. Video of me playing his record in a club and young folk dancing to it, and he was thrilled. He's in his 70s, you know, and he didn't want any money. He just said, and that was lovely. And I'm sure most of those boys would feel that way. They're like, God, people like my music now. Nobody bought it at the time, but they like it now. Oh, that's nice.
We had Rob Lind from the Sonics on at one time,
right.
Who had that song "The Witch." I guess was their biggest quote unquote hit, but he was very humble. He was like, wow, I can't believe anybody even knows.
Aye. Well, they weren't that big at the 20 years after they did their tunes.
Mm-hmm. So
they were reasonably big, not that big, not as big as. So
when you're thinking about what to include on a compilation like this, what's the thread that kind of binds all those 60s era punk songs together? Is there a commonality, just musically speaking or otherwise? Like, what are you looking for to define that sound?
'60s garage punk sound and say, oh, that sounds like '60s garage punk. Like a DJ set, it'll start off hard and violent, and then knock the hell out of them at the start of it. Fit into that genre. For guitars, for physical organs, a nice and it doesn't sound up. So not all 60s garage punk records are good. I've bought loads that are shit. You know, they're like, oh God, that's terrible. What a mess they made of that. They looked good at the time. The labels looked good, but when you listen, you're like, oh no, what a waste of bloody money that was. But there's enough. There's thousands of really good ones.
I'm amazed at some of the. I watched another the Digging Crates. It was something on YouTube called Digging Crates that you were on, and some of the prices people pay for some of these records it boggled my mind.
I get that. I used to get that from my mother when I was young. How much? How much?
Relatable.
But when you consider that they are really a supreme work of art, you know, stuff like the quests that I mentioned, you know, I paid $1,000 for it, but there's 30 or 40 known copies. No, not even that, probably 20, 30. Yeah, I think it's fair. So, some of the Northern Soul prices now are ridiculous, you know, fucking £100,000 for Frank Wilson. That's ludicrous, you know. But yeah, 2,000 or 3,000 a pop for a rare record. No, I think it's well worth it. You know, a work of art goes for a lot more, and this is a work of art.
I agree. I think that's amazing. So, you know, you have these genres that you kind of hyper focus on, but for you personally, I mean, are you always listening to music across kind of the spectrum of different musical genres? What do you put on when it's time for you to relax, or is listening to music for the sake of kind of choosing these songs, is that your relaxation time? I'm always curious about that.
A few answers there. I'm an obsessive compulsive, and it was Northern then. All I want. When I relax, though, I listen to hillbilly. I like old sort of 40s swing bands. You know, I just like good music that's nice on the ear. I don't like anything that's clever or trying to be clever. I can't stand clever music. Jazz is not my thing, but I like stuff that's nice on the ear and makes you feel. Even if it's a man screaming and very violent garage thing, movies when I relax.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Kev, I feel like you could probably identify with some of that because you're such a big punk fan, and you do find the beauty in that.
I find the beauty.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I called my other podcast, was called Beautiful Garbage.
Yeah, I think about that a lot.
No, but as you know.
It's fascinating to me. Can I ask you about something else I heard in this interview, saying that you would take a 45 and cover up the name so nobody else would know what song you were playing?
Yeah, definitely. So that was, I didn't start that. That was the Northern Soul scene. All the days. So back in the 70s, flying to America was pretty expensive and very obscure for someone to fly to America. So the records, find someone that nobody knew, bring it back and play it at a Northern Soul club. Now, if the next DJ saw what it was, he'd send 100 letters to America to record dealers. Can you find me a copy of this, please? And that DJ that found it would lose the glory, and it was all about glory and one playing it. So I thought, yes, I want that glory, and I've got a big DJ playing it. And it meant if you had a really good set of records that nobody else was playing, you got more work. So I got more work. So it was all about me. It was a very selfish thing to do. It was also mysterious and fun trying to find out what the other people's cover-ups were. It was added a bit of mystery to the scene. And selfishness. And I'm proud of that.
See, I consider that job security. and being, yeah.
I guess you couldn't do something like that today because they have programs that can just hear a song and tell you what it is.
the 100 Club all nighter on Saturday. That's a Northern Soul night in London, where my mate Butch was playing. And I would say 90% of his set were cover-ups. And they're not on any computer. People record. But a lot of the copy on the planet and plays them covered up, and no buggerness. Somebody's been playing for 25 years and nobody knows what they are yet. So no, you can still cover them up. There's still things to be found.
There you go.
That's amazing. So you have regular kind of weekly DJ gigs. Do you want to talk a little bit about, how those work and what it is that you get from that, kind of getting out there, that experience? What does that do for you?
Seeing folk reacting to, I'll put a first time out at the Cave Club for this. Come on, you buggers, let's have you. And then you can see their faces going, oh, fucking hell, what's this Keb's playing? This is great. On to these great records. Because as I say, is young people have got much more access in club life to great music, It's... they had house and hip hop for 30 years, but in Britain, at least, that's dying a death. The young kids are going for vintage music now, which is great. So I get a thrill of and mates, digging them out and playing them. No big. What's it? I just get a buzz.
That's good. How do you think that vinyl will always have a place in DJ culture?
Coming back a bit more, I turned up once. Where was it? In Spain. Two. Japan, one in Spain, turned up with their DJ sets. So their computers crash. The thing for me about computers, even CDs, is I can't remember all the titles. I can't remember the artists' names, etc. But I can remember what every label looks like. I can pick a record up and know exactly what it sounds like. But going through a list on a computer screen, to find the tune you want to play is like, what the fuck? I can't even remember which one's that. But pick it up, yellow label with a pharaoh on the top of it, and a couple of I know what that one is. So yeah, so for older DJs, records will always be. There's also a mystery.
Well, and one thing you do that I love, I know you do this on your Instagram page, is you will regularly post pictures of the actual album, things that you like or that you have found to be, just really great to play at, some of your events. And so from you, I've, heard things that were new. I think that's so wonderful because it helps those of us that are always looking for more hone in on the things that you like. So I feel like you're naturally always sharing, things like that.
That's the same as I get from DJ, and I'll stick it on Instagram and see folk going, oh, fucking hell, Keb, that's great. And I think, good, I have brought joy and happiness to somebody through my music. That. But I do get a wee sort of, when I was young, when I was a teenager, what you did when you got your records is you played them to your pals and your mates and said, oh, listen to that, Davey, have you heard this? And it's the same sort of thing. And thinking like, well, you're all my mates now, the whole world, have a listen to this. And so, yeah, I like doing that.
It's great. And it actually makes me wonder what's next. So you have this 60s garage punk compilation. Are you already working on the next one or something different for for those sets that you like to release?
Garage for at least 10 years. The next comp I'm doing is with a Japanese fashion company called Wako Maria, and we're doing it through Ace, and it's going to be garage records that Ace don't own that they're going to have to go and license because they're all obscure, super obscure things that we've picked out. So Ace to say, okay, we're sold out of your other one, like we can do the next one. Already did, had the license to a lot of the tracks already, so it was cheap for them. Yeah. Record labels and money. Why do they care about such things? They should care about pleasure.
That's right. So if someone wanted to kind of get into some of these genres, like we'll go back to deep funk, where would you recommend somebody get started? Let's say they've heard the words, but they don't really know what that is. Where would you send someone to get kind of a foundation of what something like deep funk is?
I think really the only sort of still young and lively scene for deep funks in Japan, it's a sort of dead scene now. You know, it's old people remembering 20 years ago. I am old people, you know, but it was fresh 20 years ago or 25 years ago. It's now as fresh. Good night in Japan, deep funk. Funk compilations you're going to get. And that club. Northern soul clubs everywhere, rockabilly clubs or weekenders everywhere. But deep funk, no, it hasn't survived well in the club scene.
Yeah. Well, I know that and future funk is something too that I hear coming out of Japan a lot, which I know is slightly different. But you know, still kind of builds on those principles. So I definitely appreciate that. For people who want to know more about you and kind of what you do and what you've put together, is your website the best place to go? Should we send them to maybe BBE? Where should people head to for more information?
I still see Pete from BB, but I don't work with BB anymore. I work at Ace Records now, full time there. I don't have a website. You may be meaning that there's a Keb Darge website and a legendary Keb Darge website, but it's not me. It's some guy in Brighton. That's where they'll find me.
There you go. And Bandcamp, I know you have some stuff. Well, at least I know the album you did presents the new Master Sounds is on Bandcamp if people want to go check that out there.
Enjoyed doing that one. I like Eddie and the boys, but I wasn't so I was trying to compete with, you know, Gabe Jones and all that Dapton. So I thought I'm going to compete with Gabe and I'll make an album with my mates and all that. But it wasn't as good. You know, I thought Gabe's better. I'm not going to Gabe do it all. So he did the Dapton stuff and I thought, get on with it. It's much.
Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, Kevin knows this. I've done some help with the Master Sounds here in Colorado over the years, selling merch and just helping out at their shows. And the album that you worked on with them is just perennial. I mean, it's the one people go for. It tends to be one that I will recommend if someone's new to the band. So it has really stood up. And of course, they have a lot of albums, but people love that. It's always one that people come back for and love to talk about at the table.
It was good, but it wasn't as good as the Daptone releases, in my opinion. And that's who I was up against. And Gabe's a genius to me, Gabe Roth. He's one of the greatest producers, arrangers on the planet as we speak. And he doesn't get as much credit as he should get.
Yeah.
Tremendous. I'll let him get on with it.
So is something like the thing you did with the new Master Sounds, are there any other bands that you would want to work with like that, to do something like that with?
I don't think I'm talented enough. I don't think, I can't write music. I don't know. I've got tunes going around in my head. The thing with gay and some Northern Soul DJ. Boom, 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 boom. I says, wait a minute, Keb, wait a minute. Do that again. So I fucking did the tune in my head. He plays the tune to me. He's taken my boom, 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 got the musicians together, made it into a tune. I thought, whoa, fucking hell, genius. So he's got that ability. I don't have that ability. I can just make tunes up in my head and that's it. So I don't, I'm happy enough just playing records, really.
I love it. And that's an art, is really, when you think of so many millions and millions of options out there, to be able to pick out what, kind of has the right sound, but also mixes with everything else that you're trying to do. And I think that's why people continue to come back to your recommendations and those compilations, because they know it's going to be, something that kind of hits them where they want. So we appreciate everything that you've done for music.
Thank you, but I'm puzzled why other people can't do that.
I don't think everybody can. I think it's a skill in itself, just a natural thing.
Because what you are saying is that people realize that if they realize those are the great records, they should.
They should, but I don't think they have the breadth of knowledge, and I think that's a huge part of it.
Oh, you're back now.
Yeah.
Next question.
I think we're.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But I think part of it too is when you're up there DJing, you're building a narrative, aren't you? You're thinking of the story you're trying to tell in the moment.
Name me. No, I'm just making them dance. That's...
Okay, fair enough. Fair.
Simple.
I love it. I love it.
All the time, I'll break, then speed it up again. So I just make them dance. I'm not telling a story or being clever or that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I love it. I love it.
That's it. That's all I'm doing. Really, I'm a lot simpler than people think.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times I tend to overthink stuff like this instead of what do they call that, Occam's razor or whatever? The simplest answer is probably what it is, Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I play records that I like.
Yeah. Well, it works, and and we appreciate being able to talk with you and just get that understanding. I've always been so curious, honestly, and so I know that you'll have kind of continuing on your DJ sets that you do, and we'll make sure to share all the links to the different projects that you have so people can find them and enjoy them too.
Right. I'll keep on going until I can't walk anymore, or I need the toilet every 3 minutes. Then I'll stop DJing. But until then, I'll keep at it.
Right. Well, we did talk to one DJ once, and he's like, "Yeah, sometimes I'm up there. I just gotta. I feel like I gotta pee." He's like 54 or something, and he's like, "That's the toughest thing, doing a 2-hour set."
Well, they used to supply me with a bucket in Madame Jojo's. I got a bucket as I was DJing, which was very convenient.
I was going to say
6 hours. Sorry, but yeah. I used to put it on my rider bucket, and they made a record in Australia. Now, who was it? It was an Australian funk band about 20 years ago made a record and called it Keb's Bucket, because it became a rumor. He pees in a bucket. He pees in a bucket whenever he DJs.
I think that was a band called Cooking on 3 Burners. I feel like
that was it. Yeah.
Yes,
That's it.
I didn't. Yeah, now I know the story. I know that one.
That was it.
All right. Well, we've solved a mystery today, so I appreciate that.
All right.
Keb, you got anything else?
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Everybody out there listening, I know that we've had a little delay here, but we're okay. Keb, thank you so much. I mean, it just everything you've seen and lived and done, it's just amazing to talk to someone who can connect the mid 70s in England to what's going on today. And I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. With my old man.
And everybody who's watching, leave a comment later. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Keb, you hang out for a second. We're going to run an outro, but we want to thank you. And everybody watching, remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. We'll see you soon.